Two biggest lies about awareness and reality. We're going to set the record straight on two primary principles of primacy today, and I'm not going to make you sit through a bunch of fluff before I get to the point. The first thing that everyone gets wrong is assuming for no particular reason that the physical world is more basic or fundamental than non-physical reality. Religion gets this right, but it's the only thing religion gets right. Science gets this totally backwards. The other common misconception we're going to confront in this movie is the odd notion that awareness is a thing, that it can be quantified, localized, or contained. Every time I hear someone say, for example, a bug might have a little consciousness while a human or a dolphin has a lot more consciousness than a bug, well, that's silly. Consciousness is not a thing in a catalog of things. It is not created or destroyed. It is energy. It is infinity. It isn't broken up into pieces. Everything has consciousness because everything is consciousness. Existence is an infinitely detailed hallucination about infinity. A world is infinity seeing itself from some perspective. A bug's world is infinite, and so is yours. Every hallucination of reality is infinitely detailed and indescribable. A bug doesn't have less consciousness than you. It is completely unaware of your perspective of the world, but that's about all we can say about what a bug is experiencing, except that it lives in a world that you are completely unaware of. If a bug could look at a TV screen showing it what you are experiencing right now, the bug would detect only noise, static. Your experience is meaningless to anyone but you. Rocks are made of consciousness. Everything is conscious because everything is made of consciousness. You don't split awareness up into pieces and parcel it out to living things, or just animals if you're like most people, and add it to a catalog of physical phenomena and attribute its existence to animal brains. You can't do that. I won't let you. It's too stupid. I would go so far as to say that rocks are made of awareness. Dirt is made of awareness. Rivers and mountains and trees and snails are made of awareness. The paint on your wall is awareness. Artificial intelligence is awareness. You can't get away with saying that a rock or a bug is only a little bit aware for the same reason you can't wait for science to discover, define, or describe infinity. Some scientists won't admit infinity even exists because it can't be put in a box for them to label, so they can't profit from its existence. These scientists might be good at some kinds of thinking, but that doesn't make them qualified to notice the obvious. Infinity doesn't fit somewhere. It obviously can't be measured, and that obviously makes it fundamental to everything, equal to everything, except that it can't be described, and it is therefore not a thing, and therefore also equal to nothing. Paradox is the backbone of reality. Everything is illusory because obviously to anyone who's bothered to stop thinking long enough to pay attention, nothing exists except infinity. I'm here to tell you that infinity, energy, and awareness are the same thing, except that they're not a thing. The world is physical, but that's not all it is. All it is infinity. The odd notion that everything is physical, that the fundamental building blocks can someday be figured out and described by experimental or theoretical science, is based on the assumption that reality is basically a physical phenomenon. If reality is a physical phenomenon, then what is outside of reality? Because, in case you hadn't noticed because you were too busy thinking, in order to be physical, a thing has to have limits, which makes infinity the basis of everything else, because something with no limits is not a thing, and must therefore pre-exist all things, and by definition must actually be all things. Isn't everything just about the closest we can come to defining infinity? And that's what makes awareness the same thing as infinity. Like infinity, awareness can't be contained, localized, described, or broken up into parts. The same with any word we've ever come up with to describe the basic fundamental element of reality. God, the Tao, the Great Spirit, oneness, Akasha, all the same non-thing thing. because no thing is permanent. Permanence is infinity. Because energy is not made of something, energy is awareness. These words are not things. They are incomplete descriptions of something that is not a thing and therefore cannot be perfectly described. In fact, no thing is really a thing because nothing exists, and nothing exists because nothing is infinity, and existence is infinity, and reality is infinity. In spite of not knowing or being able to figure out or guess what a bug is experiencing, I can tell you in general what everything really is. Not in detail, but in general. Everything is aware because everything is awareness. You are the center of your own world, that is to say, your own experience of reality. You are unique because you are a unique perspective on infinity. In order to be considered, sensed, perceived, felt, experienced, or thought about in any way, shape, or form, infinity must be broken up into parts. This is an illusory process because it's always transient, temporary, and scheduled to be broken down and rearranged into something else. No form of energy is permanent. Only abstract, undefined energy is permanent, because energy and permanence are the same thing, and because they are not a thing, but rather they are everything. In order to be broken into parts, even though with infinite temporariness, everything must be unique. Infinity doesn't consist of things until we mentally pretend that things are the parts of infinity. We can't hold on to this illusion, but we can pretend. Science is the greatest pretense on earth. It is a grasping at the air. You're staring into infinity right now. What you see is what exists. Notice that the moment is not present time versus past versus future. Just as the past no longer exists and the future has not come into being, present time doesn't exist either. Notice that we just decided that time doesn't exist at all, but we know that it does. The only explanation is that the moment, which does exist but for an infinitely small period of time, must also be infinitely great. The moment is not a unit of time or a unit of anything else. The moment is the universe, the only unit there is, oneness itself. We see infinity all at once because we are infinity and because infinity is all there is to see. We pretend we are these limited beings, these things with eyes and ears and noses and hands and feet, because we need an explanation in order to have experiences that can be remembered and described. Within infinity, not that there's such a thing as without infinity, there must be infinite perspectives, infinite ways of observing infinity. Infinity's parts are illusory. Life and experience and the passing events of non-existent time are momentary phenomena. Real because reality is infinity, is everything, is awareness. The bug is aware of you in some way that you can't imagine, and you are aware of the bug in some way that the bug can't imagine. The bug and the dog and the tree and the rock and the river exist as things because in order for infinity to be noticed, it must be temporarily broken up into parts, things with limits for us to see, hear, and touch. Let's say a human is tied to a chair in a mental institution because he was born blind, deaf, and without the sense of touch. Therefore, no way to learn or communicate, no way for us to share our experience with him, and no way for him to navigate our world. Is he aware? Well, he has to be, because he is awareness. The universe is made of an infinite variety of perspectives, infinity gazing upon itself, and the sensory-deprived, drooling person thing tied to a chair in a mental institution is the center of his own world too. We will never know what his world is. We see a dog and think how playful and relaxed and happy the dog is without a care. That's why we have dogs in the world, because there is this certain particular configuration of energetic positions, this perspective on reality that can only be explained by seeing two dogs ecstatically chasing each other around in a totally unself-conscious wrestling match which they will probably repeat tomorrow. That's the way dogs are made. In a third world country, a mangy dog limps down the road, head hung down and obviously miserable and near death, growling defensively at any other dog that comes near it. That dog is the center of his world. He looks out upon infinity, but we can't imagine what his world is like either. He exists because within infinity, not that there's such a thing as without infinity, all things must exist. And each of these things is a perspective, a unique example of infinity gazing upon itself. The mangy dog exists because all things exist, because existence is infinity. But there is no past, no future, no present, no time, just the infinite moment with its infinite perspectives, transforming from one thing to another, because without the illusion of thingness, we can't perceive worlds. But with the illusion of thingness, change is the only thing that is permanent. So change is just another version of infinity. Change is infinity itself. Order or time, just another version of infinity. The separation of infinite awareness into things for awareness to be aware of, just another version of infinity. The attraction of one thing to another, whether we call it gravity or sameness or memory or relatedness or connection, that's just another version of infinity. Everything you see, hear, touch, perceive, and notice is aware of its own world which you do not perceive and can't imagine, because in order for you to exist separately from infinity, you have to limit your awareness to some identity, some configuration of possibilities. But there is only one infinity, one awareness. So don't insult bugs. They are not functioning on some trickle of awareness. There is no trickle of awareness, just everything all at once, transiently limited differently by each species' unique sensory abilities and each individual's sense organs. A rock might live for millions of years, so why would we be able to comprehend its sense organs? We shut most of infinity out so we can have a life, a continuous chain of memories. It takes energy to hold this pattern or configuration together, this memorable thing we perceive to be our personality and circumstances. So we have to close our so-called eyes and go to sleep periodically. Stop the pretense and float free, enjoying the hallucinatory nature of worlds unlimited by continuity and sensibleness, in order to rest the muscles of the mind till they're ready to grasp and cling to selfhood once again. We open our so-called eyes in the morning and look out upon the so-called world and remember who we think we are. With the thinking engaged, the world continues. Another version of yesterday, another endless series of infinite moments.